You really owe me a debt of thanks because in researching for our chat today, and we've talked many times over the years, I looked through like the MTV archives, and I'm sparing you some.
Thank you.
You were always very poised and never said anything crazy, honestly, but it's more of like, there's an amazing TRL appearance where like someone's head is getting shaved next to you. It's just...
It's very... I'm from the 90s.
I mean, it's great.
And so is MTV.
It's true. You grew up with us. We grew up with you.
Yeah.
How many of you have cried yourself to sleep at night? People have been trying to take me down for years. But I won't stay down.
Celeste, come on. Everybody's downstairs.
Oh.
You know what you're getting into right from the start. There's the Willem Dafoe narration. There's the fact that this film has like this great, what's the subtitle? It's like a 21st century portrait.
Yes.
I mean, it really is though, because it really is about the confluence in pop culture where we, combine violence and pop music, and you go from like talking about, controversies in the administration, and then it's like, who's the sexiest man alive? And it's just all the same.
Right. It's like this attention, like all over the place where you just have, because news is sold, it becomes like, how can we create more and more stories and have more stories all the time, and people consume at such a fast rate, and then to feed it, everything becomes news, and whether it's like an act of violence or a pop star's breakup, it occupies the same space, and then the attention you give it gives it great power. So it's definitely like the craziness of our time where it feels like everything's put on the same level, but it also weirdly makes everything less important because there's so much that it all gets diluted.
You of course play Celeste, who's this pop star that's was kind of born out of this tragedy, born out of violence, and she's gone through it clearly. By the time we meet her in the second half of the film, I know you said like you don't want to name names about who you're kind of like who's inspiring this, and I'm sure it's a lot of people, right? But I think one of the amazing things is like there's a press conference where like the stuff that comes out of your character's mouth is just like, some of it's profound and some of it's insane.
Yes.
And and I think like, I'll say it like, I mean, it's like, oh, you could just be reading Kanye's tweets here,
Yeah,
basically.
well, it's funny because Brady, the director, said to someone, they asked who, it was most like, and although it wasn't inspired by him, he was like, if you could compare this character to anyone today, it would be Kanye.
Yeah. So did you just kind of go down like a Google hole in terms of just like looking up like pop stars and sort of meltdowns and all that kind of stuff?
Yes, there's a lot to draw from, and that's something that's interesting because you see kind of like part one where she's kind of born as a pop star, where the character is played by a younger actress, Raffi Cassidy, who's incredible, and then part two where I'm playing her at an older age, and you can fill in the blanks because we've seen so many people have this kind of meteoric rise and then a crash and then a rebirth, and we know what that trajectory is, that you don't need to see what happens in between, you can fill it in.
Yeah, it strikes me when you say that. Is it weird for you you're at the point in your career where there's a young actor playing a young version of you? I mean, you've always been like the young version of something else.
Yeah, it's funny, being around so long, that you go from being the young actor to the older actor in the pairing, but it's also really exciting to not feel like the least experienced, because I was always like, oh my God, how did I get here? How did I get so lucky? So
was there a point where that changed? Was there like a specific film you remember where you're like, oh, I actually, I know what I'm doing now? Like,
no, I never feel like I know what I'm doing, but I do feel like I'm older than other people.
It's just
like everybody.
Just my sheer age.
It's just an age thing, not a comfort thing. The comfort never gets better.
You shot this role in 10 days, which is crazy.
Yeah.
I would think you're probably like riding a line between exhilaration and terror in a role like this, because the stuff you have to do in such a short period of time.
Yeah.
Was it kind of just like a thrill ride, a roller coaster for you? Was it good that it happened in such a compressed period of time?
Yeah, it was really fun. There's like a certain kind of energy that you get from doing things so quickly and so kind of in such a condensed, like energetic way. But it's also really scary. You have to be super prepared because you just have to show up and do your thing. And there's no like wiggle room. There's no like, I'll get comfortable. I'll take a few days, which usually on a movie you like kind of ease in, and then by day 10 you're feeling kind of like ready to try the hard things. And this was like first day doing the hardest scenes in the movie. So it was cool. And it was lucky to work with Jude Law again, because I got to set and knew that the actor I was working opposite is like the loveliest, kindest, most generous, also an incredible actor, but also just that you could feel comfortable trying crazy things. And
this is what, your fourth or fifth time?
It's our fourth time working together. Yeah,
that's crazy, and in such different kind of movies. Like the box set of the Jude Law and Natalie Portman is an unusual one.
Exactly. This is definitely the outlier.
Last 15, 20 minutes of this movie is basically a performance. Like, it's a mini concert by your character, and the film lives or dies on that. You can't just like get to that and be like, she was all right. It didn't like you have to buy it, so you have to sell that. You have Sia contributing the songs, which is unbelievable.
So cool.
What did it feel like to be on stage? I mean, you've obviously performed in many different respects, whether it's in theater, whether it's in Black Swan, doing that kind of thing. Did this feel like a different kind of performance for you?
It was a different kind of performance. I mean, it was really exciting to get to do and to get to sing songs written by Sia. It was really just something I never thought I'd get to do in my life. It was also very intense because it is a big thing to kind of like try and make people believe.
Can you pinpoint a moment where a night before a specific moment on set where you were really freaking out, where you were worried?
Almost every
every night
time.
Before every scene.
Not every night before every scene, because usually you're just too busy like.
But there's usually one on
together.
every film probably that you're pinpointing.
Well, I think mainly it's like the week before I start, I feel like, or even the month before I start, I just feel totally terrified and want to, drop out on everything. I'm like, I just get that panic, like, I don't think I can actually do this. And then you kind of have to like, it's sort of like that moment on the high dive when you're a kid and you're like looking down and you're like, I'm just going to turn back and go down the ladder. And then you're just like, take the leap. And
I don't sleep, mother off that yak and that Durban, doing 120, getting hit while I'm swerving.
Damn, Natalie, you a crazy chick.
You shut the up and suck my.
Take me back to that for a second, because I know, I mean, like that was a big moment in sort of in your career in a weird way, in a lot of different respects. It was like the birth of viral videos.
Right, it was sort of at the beginning of those, the Lonely Island.
The Lonely Island thing. Did you have any apprehension? Like, I was rewatching it the other day. I hadn't watched it in a while. Like, the lines in that, there's some extreme stuff in that. Was there anything that you blanched at that you were like, maybe we can't go that far?
No, in the second one, they wrote some lines about my kids, and I was like, no, like that's, we don't touch that. Like anything embarrassing with me, I'm fine.
All
but
good, yeah.
I'm not touching that. But no, it was really fun for me and lucky for me to get to sort of like play with this image, because I feel like when we're talking about how, like in the film, there's a way that the character wants other people to perceive her.
Sure.
And there's also a way that the press kind of wants to portray her. And I think every public figure has that to a certain extent. And some combination of like me and the way the press decided to characterize me from an early age was that I was like this very serious, studious girl. So it was fun to like just break that perception a little bit. I mean, even as a joke. Like,
Do you feel like that has reverberations? Do you think you still are in a little bit of the box of what people perceive you to be, or did 10 plus years after that video, does that something that still remain?
Yeah, I think that there's definitely that remains a little bit, but also I think it matters less. Like
Again.
The older you get, you're kind of like, oh, I don't care.
Right. Right. I'll be again. It's gonna be
Think
fun.
whatever you want about me,
Right,
and
right.
it's not. It's cool. You have a free will.
You have been gifted with great parents who were obviously protective of you and helping steer your career early on, where it's tough for any actor, let alone a young actor in this business, let alone a young female actor in this business.
Yeah.
But I am curious, like, were there any arguments? Was there any film you desperately wanted to do that they would not let you do
Well,
early on?
the Professional was a huge argument with
Really?
my parents, because it was obviously very kind of like mature themes, and it was my first film offer, so I was desperate to do it. And so they were very fair, so that they sort of like negotiated about what I could and couldn't do,
Right.
so that, you know, it was like limited how many times I could like put a cigarette to my mouth, but like I could never actually inhale, and at the end my character had to quit smoking so that it would be a good influence for young people. But there were things like that
Right.
that, you know, were, you know, limiting how many times I could curse,
Got
things
it.
like that.
You finally came to social media for a good cause, it seems like. It was it was connected to Time's
Time's
Up,
Up, yeah.
right? Did you have to be dragged kicking and screaming, or did it feel like this was, if you were going to do it, this was the time to do it?
I had to be convinced.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm very happy to have been part of that moment of introducing Time's Up to the world, and to continue being part of it. And
Yeah.
it's been a new experience.
Did it feel like, was there a time, because you've always been politically active and
Mm-hmm.
spoken your mind, was there a time where did it take you a while to kind of find your voice, you feel like, as a young person, to feel like you were entitled to speak your mind?
Yeah, I think, you know, there's a funny thing that, not funny, but very poignant thing that Monica Ramirez, who's the head of the Farm Workers Union, who reached out to the actresses originally, that sort of spurred the creation of Time's Up, and she said to us, you know, we're as silenced by the spotlight as we are by the shadows.
Right.
They tell us, like, oh, you're in the shadows, no one cares about you, shut up. And they tell you, oh, you're rich and famous, no one cares about your complaints, shut up. And what they're telling all of us is to be silent, and the silence endangers all of us, because then we're not sharing, we're not unifying, we're not a force together. And that was really meaningful and made me feel like, yeah, it's okay. Like, if someone doesn't want to listen, they don't have to listen. It's, you know, everyone's free to choose what they're listening to and what information they're seeking out.
I always have to bring up Star Wars because I'm just a big Star Wars dork. I mean, and they're important films in your career, obviously. I mean, when
Yeah.
you look back to those three movies, is there a scene that you're most proud of? Because I know it's a challenging film for an actor.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, the actors with decades of experience had tough times on those movies.
Yeah, it was really definitely a challenge to work with blue screen for the first time. It was kind of the first time that I think it was the first time anyone filmed digitally.
Yeah.
And with so much blue screen, it was my first time for sure. And I think it was definitely one of the first, like, nearly all blue screen movies.
To that extent, totally.
Yeah. And so it was like learning a very pure form of acting where you're like literally
Black
looking
box
at
theater
nothing.
kind of
Yeah.
thing. Yeah. Is there
So
one though
that
where
was-
the acting kind of cut through, where you can actually look at it and say, like, you know, actually we got to something that felt.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's sort of like in the third film, some of the like big conflict scene with Anakin, that felt like a scene between actors more than, you know, having to deal with like stuff that you couldn't see that was going to be put in later.
Along those lines, I'm gonna, you know, I've seen these films 1,000 times,
Yeah.
but like that, but I was watching Revenge of the Sith the other day, and the scene between you and Ewan, where Ewan goes off, is a really powerful, emotional moment. Like, I thought it was really well done.
Thanks.
Belated congratulations.
Thank you very much.
On a more serious note, I know you were buddies with Ahmed Best back in the day.
Yes, still buddies.
Yeah.
And actually his wife Raquel helped train me for Vox Lux.
Amazing,
Yes.
amazing. He's been very candid in the last year about, like, you know, talking about it was a tough to deal with.
Yeah.
The reaction to that character and the extreme stuff for a young actor. Have you talked to him about that? Were you surprised? I mean, you were friends with him. You probably knew he was going through that, I guess.
Yeah, I knew to a certain extent. I didn't know how extreme it was until he spoke publicly about it, and really devastating to hear. He's like one of the greatest people and extraordinarily talented, and I can't even imagine what that experience was like, and people don't realize the extent of the hurt they can cause. You know, we talk about it all the time now, and like the bullying and social media world of it, but it's existed for a long time, you know, the negativity that people can dish out, and yeah, especially when you don't have to like face the other side. Thank you for this civilized setting.
You know me, I'm all about
Yes.
civilization and tea and vegan desserts.
Yeah.
Congratulations on the film. Vox
Thank you
Lux
so much.
is, it's a trip, man. People should check it out.
I'm glad you liked it.
I did.